a mention of the console. It'll be around in the venue in the next month, so if you want to use it, just let me know. It is one of mine, so I've got this and an SQ7, and it goes out on rental jobs, and it's done really like it gets asked for lots, because for a certain scale of show, it makes a lot of sense, and price point, it makes a lot of sense. It's pretty cheap to rent, really, because it didn't cost a lot to get it in comparison to. So if we were to sell this digi-design at front of house, there's a company that's selling one at the moment for about 17k, and a new SD12, which is a digicore console, or which is quite commonly spec'd for high price point touring, or other digicore desks are available. You're talking a lot of money. I mean, like, definitely 20k and upwards. So, relatively speaking, this is a tiny little drop in the money ocean. Now, one of the things that we will think about today is, is it good? Like, is it professional? Obviously, if we've got an arena production, then we've got a large technical area at front of house. We have the space to have the fader real estate of a large format console. I mean, funnily enough, how many faders has that console got on the main unit itself, not the sidecar? Yeah, 16 faders, which is less than this. So why is it so much bigger? Well, it's just spacious in its design. So it's nice to have space, maybe, and more enjoyable, but it can be done in a smaller frame. Question is, though, does it sound is it as good? Is, I suppose, the question. We won't answer that fully today. What I'd like to do, but we must do some other stuff first, so we can't do it today, is park this thing next to the D-Show. The D-Show costs a lot more money. All right, it's older, but it's designed for high price point touring, whereas this is designed for compact, small to medium-sized things, pop-up shows in record shops and outside things and this, that, and the other. If you put the same microphone through a preamplifier on each, can you tell the difference? Which is which? We'll do a blind test and see if we can hear the difference. But after it goes through the preamp, then here's one thing that we'll explore. This runs at 96k all the time. A lot of consoles just run at 48k for live. The M32 runs at 48k. There was a talk of a patch that would shift it up to 96k, but it's not happening. So, because it may or may not be working on something else, which means that, well, this is the only console in this room that runs at 96k, and yet it's the cheapest. The concept here with this is Waves SoundGrid server. It's an external DSP unit, and the application needs to be on something. You can plug a screen into this, but then you'd need mouse and keyboard. So effectively, it's controlled from some sort of portable computer, but the thinking is in here. If this is processing internally at 96 kilohertz, and these are the same plugins that you may or may not like from the studio, by the way, not selling Waves here, like other manufacturers do this. It's just that Waves have invested quite a bit of time on the cards to make it quite compatible with a number of different desks. Not saying they're leaders at doing this, but like they're one of the companies that are doing this, and that happens to be what I got, so here it is. Could we do a mix on here that sounds like as good as front of house with a high price point console? Is a question that that for a long time I've wondered, really. And I think you'd have to do a lot of shooting out, because by my ears, shows sound different in different venues, and that has more to do with where it is and what it is than it does whether I was having a nice time on the console. But maybe in the coming weeks, where we get chance, we'll try and do some blind tests of the two. But for today, it's more really just the plugging in concept and the routing and such, that this can be done. One thing is true, that regardless of whether we can make something like this sound like a high price point console, you've got this modular concept here that you could move around and have consistent results in theory. So you could get yourself a string of plugins on like rack 7 on there, set that up. That might be for a particular artist's vocal, and that's what's needed to make them sound a particular way, and you save that. And then we could have I've done this, I've had this on a plane in hand luggage, this on a plane, go somewhere else. Oh, and the card, there's a card in the back as well, which needs to be which also needs to come with you. And you could go and stick it in another console somewhere else, because you're not going to take the console with you on the plane, but you could take the bits and pieces. So regardless of whether it sounds as good, it's going to be convenient, and potentially it could bring you consistency. And the computer's broken, so that's terribly annoying. Will you move? Thanks. Just on the card front, folks, I just want to take you through the hookup of this a little bit. So basically, we will talk about the console and its basics, but then we'll have a think about the this Waves thing externally. So there's kind of like two things we're thinking about here. Obviously, you could just use the desk. Connor, you were saying you've used this desk. How did you find it? Did it sound all right?
Yeah. I didn't notice any major problems with sounds.
You just kind of did your thing, and it just sounded, and that was that. Yeah. The room and what's on stage and all that, I tend to find that ends up being a bigger factor than like whether or not it's this, that, the other plugin. So basically, that's really slow and rubbish. Can we actually get in? No, I can't seem to manage to. Where the hell is that? No, it's rubbish, that, isn't it? Oh, there it is. Right. So that is it's called an MSQ card. And I think it cost me about 800 quid, I want to say, somewhere around there. So I've got a couple of these, one for M32/X32, which is a WXGS or something like that card. The problem is they're different for different consoles, right? But they go in an I/O port, so when we route this in a minute, it has to be on the I/O port. That obviously we could stick other cards in there from different manufacturers. The hookup is that if that thing's the brain, the DSP, then you've got to use a network switch, which is this thing, which is a Cisco something or other. It's just a network mixer, basically. So we got that going into that, and then the desk going into that, and then the laptop going into that with a blue cable. So it's switch that's putting everything together on a basic network. Automatically assigned IP addresses, nothing fancy to set up really with that. You just plug it in on here, and it just means that this can talk to the desk with audio, and control signals can run from the computer. It's only control signals from the Mac. The only audio is from the desk, backwards and forwards. The point is, it should be low latency. And I think we were talking about Waves, Aaron and I, recently, and there are different latency bandings that it has. But for monitors, could it be used as a monitor desk for in-ear monitors is the question, because that's a really critical low latency requirement. And the answer is, well, some people do use it that way. It does add latency, but which you've got to be careful of. But in theory, it's low latency, and it should be fairly stable. You can have two of these and have a reserve, because on the port, it's got the two, wherever the port's gone, it's got the A and the B, so you could have a main and a reserve. That's the hookup. Before we do that, though, let's think about this as well, because our task in the next hour is we need to get that microphone into the console via this digital stage box, which is an AR2412 from Allen and Heath. It's got 24 in, 12 out, and it's there are other stage boxes that work with this desk, but it's the common one because it runs at 96k. Yes, this one does run at 96k. So we need to get that microphone, plug it in here. Then we need to connect this to the SQ6 to get our signal. Then when we've done that, the extra bit, it doesn't have to be done, as Connor and I would agree. You could just use the desk. I've not got a problem with the EQ on this desk. I've not got a problem with the effects on it, usually. But for consistency, maybe it would be cool that I could move between different desks and have the same plugs. So we're going to route that mic through we'll do it through an inserted compressor, and then we'll also send to a reverb from the Waves system and then get it back again. So that's the plan. Just before I finish my waffle and you do the plug-in, just briefly about the protocol that this runs on. Do you know what the protocol is for this? Just remind us what a protocol is. A language, yeah. So it's all Ethernet based. It's all audio over Ethernet, but there's different strains of it, different communication compatibilities. So what's the protocol of the M32? AES50. What's the protocol of the Digicore desks use? This is a wildcard question. It's called Optocore. What's Dan? what's the Roland one?
Gosh, I don't know.
I think you do because you told me about it. The React.
Yes. Yes.
There we go. Yeah, well, the React boxes, but it's a React protocol.
Right.
What's the protocol of? Well, what's Dante? Because it is a protocol. What's that, sorry? Yeah, it's a separate company. Dante is owned by a company called Ordinate. They're in Australia. And what their idea is, they'll do a protocol that can make desks talk to each other, but because it's third party, it's card-based. So in the I/O port at the back of this desk, I can have a Dante card. Nearly got one, but then didn't because I'd got this stage box, and this seems to be okay with this desk. But the concept was I've got some RIO stage boxes, which are owned by Yamaha. Can I make the two talk to each other? I was going to get a card in the back of each that's a Dante card and go away. So Dante as a mixed third party come in, make different stuff talk to each other. In theory, but not always. But in theory. Anyway, just before I finish my chit-chat, that is a EtherCon. It's an RJ45 connector in an XLR bullet. You see? Yeah. It's an armoured cable. It won't take a forklift going over it. I've had one being run over, or allegedly run over. I mean, I don't know. I went back to it and it was broke in the arena at Manchester, and so they do break, but you have a main and a reserve. Or do you? The problem with, one of the limitations with this box is it don't got reserve. It's just got, that. It's just got those, a D-snake, it's called, is the protocol. And it's only got a single port. It doesn't have a main and a reserve. But this equipment is lower price point. So there are some features that are being reserved for more expensive products. Up to you to decide whether you'd rely on just a single piece of Cat 7 between the stage and front of house. I am ever so scared about losing my signals, which is why you'll see all this palaver, these things, and it's the thing on the floor. Basically, this is that's a Harting connector, and the last thing that this job did sorry, that this thing did on a job was I was doing something with a TV truck, and the TV truck had a Harting socket on it, which is it's like an old school kind of like analog multi-pin connector. Get out of the way. Basically, just got a quick picture for you. Just got to find it. So here it comes. You don't need to see all of this picture right away. I can stick it on Moodle this week. Basically, what it is, this protocol, can you remember what it's called? This protocol here with the Allen and Heath? D-Snake. And it's the D-Snake connection, which this diagram shows in purple, between the AR2412 and the well, that's an SQ7, but the SQ6 in this case. So that's in purple. There's just a single connection. It goes into the S-Link card, and the S-Link card is a socket that's designed to host other protocols that Allen and Heath do. Allen and Heath is reasonably rare in the sense that it has multiple protocols under its name. I mean, like AES50 is AES50. But in this case, we've got this DX, and we've got this Giga Ace, which is a different strain of an Allen and Heath multi-channel audio over Ethernet. And this the AR2412 box only does D-Snake. It doesn't do DX. What kind of differences can you imagine with the other ones, which are for higher price point systems? You're getting a reserve. Good point. What else? Well, it's 96 already actually, which is pretty impressive. But higher channel counts would be the other thing that you get. But yeah, the reserve as well. That's a really good point. One of the things that we will use in this module, ME system, it's breakout boxes for artists plugging cabled in-ears in. So they have that on a stand on stage, and they affect their sends to their ears. We'll have a look at that system. It's a Cat7 cable daisy chain type setup, and that can come out of this stage box. But I just wanted to give you a quick overview on that. Oh, quick-ish. Anyway, let's get on with it. So basically, go for it. We need that microphone plugged into this stage box on channel 1. We need this stage box connected to the console, and then we need the outputs, these cables, patching into the D12s just directly, just go straight in there. Just put the cables across there. We'll mat over it. And we've got 5 minutes to do that. Action. Yeah, this is digital stage box. So if you, I'll do this end because it's a little, to be dead careful because the flight case is a bit small. But this is going to go in this end. You go into the D-Snake port on there. Thank you very much. And then on this side, just so you know on this end, folks, I'll just point it out at the back because you're not all going to be able to stick your head round the back necessarily. Oh, the picture back up. The common thing about this is that people try to put the audio network into the Ethernet ports at the back of desks. I mean, I do it sometimes. So, like on the back, you've got the following. When I find them, where the hell are they? So that's your I/O port. The USB will be need in a minute because that's where we're getting our signals from. Pro Tools. That's at least 24 channels of 96K multi-track audio from your favourite audio workstation. Then we've got the S-Link port, which is Ethercon RJ45, which we're going to plug in now, and then the network port. But the network port is for remote control of the desk, no audio, whereas it's the S-Link port that we want. So, yeah, I mean, I'll do it because I'm studying, and also I'm just trying to be careful because, I don't know if you can see, but that's had a bit of a moment on it because the flight case is tiny. But the flight case was made as small as possible because otherwise, what's the point of getting a small desk and then getting a massive flight case? Like, it is proper light. In fact, I encourage you just to give it a little thing like that. It's like, it really is on the back seat of your car kind of business, this. Which again, from a rental perspective, that's why it's done really well, because just normal people can just come and get a desk. Right, does this microphone work? Is that stage box on? Doesn't look like it is because there's no lights. So power's at the back. Now it's on. I mean, what have I got to say about this? If I was to, if you were to go and do some work at a local sound rental company, this is not ideal. So there's a mat there. Always use a mat if it's there. Is this anybody's XLR? Why is it here? Is this someone's personal XLR? Well, that's why I bring so much crap to it, everything, just in case. Right, so this is ridiculous. Could we pull that out of there, please? And could we... I'm not normally a fan of extension, but in this occasion, it's better than what could happen here. So we'll have that under there. Do try and use, natural cover, if you can, because it just...
Wow.
Your reputation is always at stake.
So how was that working? Just
What?
out of curiosity, your little the what you called it?
Hearting connector.
Yeah, with that to make it redundant or whatever.
Right.
How was it not doing that?
Excellent question. So basically what you get is you get another Hearting connector with a breakout into XLRs, and then what you could do as a backup, it wasn't in the case of going into the TV truck, I just went into the TV truck and they get a sniff of all my signals. So that's like a broadcast split. So it's a splitter. It's a simple splitter. It's not active, but not many people complain. It's like, seriously? You can send me individual microphones? Wow. The last guy just sent me like sums. Like, well, yeah. Obviously you want things individually. But what you could do to get around, this is what I do, but bear in mind that I'm like really, really scared of things breaking. Apart from the fact that I threw this on the floor. You could get your other Hearting connector into breakout XLRs and put them into the local sockets. And then on this layer, have your digitals, and then on this layer, have your analogs. In fact, if I'm doing monitors from front of house, that's probably why that says Mons. I do front of house from digital and monitors from the analogs, and then I can go post fader sends on these faders. That's additional reading because I didn't explain that fully, but just as a way of getting around like being super scared of, because particularly like, I mean, some stuff it's not so bad. You could, I mean, losing signals is never good, but like sometimes more, it's not. It's even worse because it's like really high price point stuff. Like, could I put this on a job that last time we used a Digicore which cost 20 grand, and what would the client think about that? The answer is the client doesn't even know anyway, because oh look, it's got lights. Oh, is this a new desk? Oh, cool. But then from my perspective, I'm like, if something goes wrong and somebody looks at it, do they look at it and go, well, you spec cheap stuff, what do you expect? Questions like this. But the higher price point desk that I've personally got is a big desk in comparison to this, so I can't get it in random places. Anyway, those kind of conversations we should be having in this module, because it's about digital systems, and the trend is let's make it a bit smaller, including with the expensive stuff, as we will see with the Midas gear. Any road, does it work? When this thing's happy, you'll get a orange flashing light. Of course you will, because everybody knows that means it's good. So it's on. I suspect it's just switched off down here. Rather than let it get surprised, can you switch it off at that end? then switch it on at this end, and then switch it back on at that end. I'm not kidding. This is how insane I can sometimes be. Because I think it's better not to surprise computers. I think it's good to let them have their own power up at their end.
I've wrecked my system a couple two times already doing that.
Right.
Switching off and it just-
Let their own power supply sort it out. Anyway, when it's happy, you get that flashing orange, because everybody knows that flashing orange means solid signal. And on the M32, sorry, just to be clear, it's a flashing orange signal, which is not on there. Whoops. Piss.
Sorry, I wasn't just like walking around for any reason.
But what colour is it on the what do you call it? On the M32 when it's happy? Solid. No, it is. It's solid. It's solid green, and that's like different, isn't it? So Stagebox is happy. Right, on the console, let's get to it. So we've got a multi-track coming back from Pro Tools. Should I reload this show file? Probably. I just quickly go back to something that I know is a good starting point. Probably that. Yeah, touchscreen. So we're getting. Tell you what, just because there's a tiny screen, you're not going to see it, and this will work. So angle that and that. So basically, what you tell me, if you just to walk up to a new digital console, what kind of area would you go to get some signals onto channels? What might be the name of that bit, or patch bay, that kind of thing. I don't know where this just disappeared to, so I'll get this back. But yeah, on this thing, what you call patch bay on the D show, it's called I/O. Could somebody go to the I/O tab on the console here and see what's connected to the inputs? So there's a little shortcut button. So yeah, just to highlight that for everybody. So you've got the I/O button, and does it look suspiciously like someone's had a look at another desk that you have used before to see what that is? Now, what you want to do is is this a local socket? Is it an S-Link or an ME or a USB? Thank you very much. Which one is it?
S-Link.
It's an S-Link D-Snake. Thanks, Junior. S-Link D-Snake is what it is. So local sockets are on the back. That's the same as Midas, right? It's called local there. So you want to go S-Link, and then you want to go to inputs, and then, oops, S-Link inputs. And then we can patch it from here. Like, you know, but there's an easier way of doing that. That would then become like a one-to-one scenario down there, yeah? But that's a multi-channel way of doing it. There's a individual way of doing it on a per-channel basis. This is the same on the M32, actually. On the M32, it seems like you use the routing tab, and it's that thing. It seems like you use the routing tab that does 8 things at once, but it's not actually the case. You can do one channel at a time. So that would be like loads of things at once, but you can just do one channel at a time. To do one channel at a time, you go to a channel and select it, then you go to processing, and processing is like the channel strip. That's loads of channel strips. It's a touch screen. You can scroll across the different channels. If you want detail, then each channel is made up of about 4 blocks. This block, this block, this block, and this block. The top block is like the top of the channel strip on any desk. You click on it, and at the moment, this is taking signal from USB port 1 and 2 from Pro Tools. What I'd like you to do is go to the lead vocal channel, which is presently there, take it from Pro Tools and instead input from the S-Link stage box. Go for it.
Select. And then what?
So change the USB port to the stage box, channel 1, yeah? So I think that's what... Did we put it in channel 1? So let's click on that.
All right. Okay. USB port.
What type of input signal is it?
It doesn't say. We got
From that
S-Link,
choice.
S-Link,
Yeah, S-Link, perfect. And then change the number to... it's on 1, sorry, so that's perfect. And then click apply. And then this should be this mic. So if we find out. Again, folks, this could be improved a bit further. I'm not being harsh, but I'd love to make sure you get some nice, expensive, high-profile work in the coming years. And the way I've been able to do some of this stuff is try and think about what production people care about. Production people don't care about fancy consoles, technical talk. They just care about, like, is the place safe and tidy, and were you polite, were you clean, that kind of thing. I'm never clean, but, and sometimes I'm not particularly polite, but try and be tidy. Anyway, do we get signal?
Yeah, that's it.
Tapping and talking, tapping and talking. Right, could you get me out to front of house then? It's going to come from the stage box, because the stage box lives nearer the amplifiers usually. So this is over at the stage. We've only put a 3 metre, it's a 2 metre cable, I think, but obviously goes, well, how long can you go? I say obviously. I've not said that bit. Huh? 100 metres. With Cat 7, copper, it's recommended up to 100 metres approximately. After that, you can get a repeater. We'll talk about this when we go to Midas. You have 100 metres repeater, 100 metres repeater, 100 metres.
What happened if you didn't, say you went over 100?
It could, you could lose audio, drop out. Or for up to a kilometre, there's fibre. And a lot of consoles at the high end have fibre connections on them as well. This doesn't, it just has Cat 7. But 100 metres is a long way. I've got an 80 metre Cat 7 drum, and I was super surprised that got all the way from the centre of the MEN. I was doing a boxing thing, went from right in the middle, off underneath one of the sides, then, you know where the stage usually is at the MEN, and there's a big area behind where trucks load in?
Yeah.
It went all the way down there, it went out the building, and at the back of the MEN where the gates are, and the trucks park, there was a TV truck there, and it went onto that. And I'm like, I thought that would be way more than 80 metres, but apparently not.
It's really weird.
The Manchester Arena. Have you been? Seen?
Used to be called the MEN.
And then it was Phones for You. Is it an arena? It's big. I thought it was big. I thought it was bigger than that, but apparently, so 80 metres. It understands it's quite a long way. So I don't know what you'd be doing over a kilometre. Maybe like certain sporting events where you've got PA like around different parts, like, but I'm not sure. Maybe it's not the kind of stuff that I've been doing. So anyway, how are you patching this into the PA? Go for it. So out of the stage box into the main PA. Just make sure that the D12s are muted. Yeah. And then on here, how do we route them? It's just the left, right going to the PA. So you could do it either way. To override these amplifiers, I'll show this, and this is worth flagging up. To override these amplifiers, he's already done it, I think. Have you done it?
Yeah.
What you do is you have to... So it'll say it's locked if I touch that. So what you've got... Oh, it didn't say it's actually locked, but what you've got to do is you've got to Oh, you must have overridden it.
No.
Did you not?
Not intentionally.
Oh, you did it though. Well done.
I didn't touch that.
Well, let's go. Let's go to this one, right? I can't unmute it. It's because the front of house, the R1 has the network priority. So you've got to press and hold the encoder for 2 seconds to unlock it, and then when you've unlocked it, it'll allow you to unmute it. So that's the hardware override that you can do, because it's actually easier to do it here now, isn't it? Rather than walk up there. So what have we got then? Have you done your cabling?
No.
Let's do it.
Are we just going out of 1 and 2?
Thanks. What Aaron said makes sense. Does this make sense how you do it on here? I mean, that I like, personally, I think that's good. Because it's like, if everybody could just do something like that, like a grid, like Pro Tools, like, I mean, a lot of consoles do that.
I'm sorry if it's a touchscreen console.
Yeah.
Have you seen X32 before?
Yeah. Good stuff. Sorry, this mat's now in the way, funnily enough. I brought it to be helpful, but... so the next task is, we could start the next bit. If I go on talking to that microphone, could somebody gain it up? Words, level, stuff. So I'm on channel, where it says LVOX in yellow, that's the channel that we've gone into. So on your left-hand side, those 4 encoders on the left-hand side of the screen, the top one, the red one, is the gain. If you press processing is a little button under the screen that's on the left. And then top left-hand rotary encoder, thank you, is gain. So here we go, various different softer moments, and then some louder moments with greater emphasis, and things, and level, and the occasional peak, but you've got it managed. So that's the analog to digital gain, analog gain. It's actually before the analog to digital converter. Preamp. I want to point this out to everyone, actually. Red being... Oh, sorry, here? Yeah, it's muted.
Right,
It's muted.
Got that, yeah.
Oh, no, it's just the colour of the encoder. Yeah, so next thing to point out is that you've got analog gain and then digital gain. So you've got... here is your analog gain, which is before the A to D. And then this one is a trim. And it works on a touch and turn principle. So you touch the thing, and then you use this encoder as touch and turn to do that. Is a digital trim after the analog gain. So you set your gain structure, and then you can trim from there. Can anyone think of a use for that with 2 consoles?
If you're sending the signals from this desk to the next desk.
Yeah. So if this was monitor's desk, maybe it's customary for monitors to do the analog gain, then leave it for the rest of the show, and then each desk has a trim, which is quite a big trim, because, I mean, what does it do? Because it's 24 dB worth of gain after the analog. So that should be enough so that this desk at monitors just uses trim, and front of house just uses their trim, so that they share the analog gain. And that's head amp gain as well, stage box. Let's talk just briefly about recovery. So there's our S-Link signal. How long does it take to recover is the question. So I'll pull out this cable. The signal will go. How we'll know the signal's going is this screen will go... it'll grey itself out, basically. Oh, maybe we could look at the meters. We've got a meters, and there's a lot going on here because it's from Pro Tools, but if we just think about, where's the lead vox here? Oh, we can't see any signal because I'm not near it. Sod it. We'll do it off I/O. That'll grey out. But let's see how quickly it recovers. So here it goes. It's gone. How quickly does it recover? Pretty decent, that. Like. So, although it doesn't have a reserve, what you would do, or the other way, I don't like how that cable's resting on that. What I would do, what I have done before, is apart from this analog paraphernalia, is run 2 Cat7 cables regardless, and just swap them if one goes out. But you'd have to have someone over here to swap it. Monitor's person is best. Otherwise, you'd have to run 30 meters to swap it and abandon your mix. Oh, there's no mix because there's no audio. It doesn't matter. Yeah, that's recovery. Right, let's actually make this thing work. So, yeah, we've got signal there. Could somebody fade us up to the left and right? The master faders up, and this. So the only other tab we'll be interested in for today is the routing tab, and which is there. So you press. We're on processing. Oh gosh, stop being so. Thanks for letting me know. Sorry about that. Yeah, just honestly, if there's something like that, just tell me. I hope it's helpful, this, because otherwise I can't imagine how you're actually ever going to see the screen. Basically, you're on processing now, which is your channel strip, and you go down the channel strip. There's your gate, there's your EQ, there's your compressor, and the signal flow is in that order, which helps. That's the overview, and to get back into the detail, you press it again, and then you go into the detail. Anyway, routing. Where's it going to? Well, again, that's an overview of all the routing. I don't find that one as helpful, but if you click on that, then this is the routing for this channel. On the left-hand side is the main LR. I want to switch that on. Then there's auxiliary sends, pre and post fader, etc., on and off. Then it's groups. And then it's effects sends. It's 4 dedicated effects sends on this desk, which are like extra auxiliaries. So I'm going to take it off the group, I think. Down. I'm going to take it off the group, and then I'm just having it going left and right. So this should be fairly basic for us to just get it out. So if somebody, I'll go and talk, could somebody fade us up? Left and right's already up, and allegedly left and right is set, and I'll check that now with you. So Aaron checked it before, so we'll trust that it's right. The main output, main L and R, is going out of 11 and 12 on the stage box because it's the S-Link port. So it should all work. And then we've got to put a waves comp across it and return some reverb in 20 minutes. Wow. Okay, so here's my level. I'm talking. We need to be able to see some. That's fine, actually. I just remembered, though, that we need to send someone to check the amps. So I'll keep talking. Have we got, if you fade me up, please, Junior, have we got level going to the D12s? Level. Fade it up to 0, because we won't unmute yet. We've not got signal. Not that you can see, yeah. Okay, let me just check our little patch here. So, yeah, that looks cool. Could you... Yeah, I would agree. Could you tap a little harder? Just make sure it goes over the threshold. Yeah, I would agree. I don't see signal there. Well, let's just double check what we've got going on here. So 11 and 12, and you just went straight over there. So the other thing to check, which I think I've just been able to see that, is, I mean, they're muted, so nothing's going to come flying out, so let's not be worried about that. We should be able to see something on the master fader. Now, there is something on the master fader. It doesn't look like a lot of level. Do you know what I think might be a good thing to check as well? There's not any DCA business as before. So again, routing, this can be done in routing. So just to thanks, Sean, you can stop tapping for just a sec, because we'll just check the DCAs. So basically, I went to routing again, and then I'm going to go to the DCA part of that, and yeah, it's in LV. So that could have affected it if the LV DCA was faded down. Oh, and one more thing. Inserts. I'm just going to double check that there's not, because we were doing the same sesh with the guys yesterday, and we were doing these inserts. We just need to be making sure that there's no insert sending it out to waves that could be affecting this job, because we've not actually done that external setup yet. Okay, Sean, could you tap, please?
Insert some grid outs.
Okay, so we're getting signal there, but we're still not getting signal on the left-right. Oh, that's really interesting. Would someone like to come and fix the desk? Oh, I know what it is. Folks, right, thanks, Sean. I've got to tell you about this. This is, right. Regardless what you think about this desk, hold your opinion just a moment. Right. Over on this side, here is the master fader. This is the left-right master fader. These are sends on faders, because this desk operates from sends on faders. That's how it's expecting to work. You can set up these rotary encoders to be auxiliary sends, but by default, and Connor and Aaron, I heard you giggling, maybe somebody else as well. Yeah, you know what the crack is, right? So if you want to do sends and faders for mix 1, then you press that, and now that is an auxiliary contribution from the snare top into mix 1 bus master. We were selected on one of these random ones, and therefore this was not the master fader of the desk. It was the master fader for auxiliary number 5. Now, that variable use for the master fader is not everybody's favourite thing. You formulate your own opinion on that matter. But that's what happens. So that master fader is currently muted for the main. This is the main LR. So fade that down, unmute that, fade that up. Now we're seeing signal there, and it's probably likely that we're seeing signal on the D12s. And actually, that's signal from the rest of the, probably from Pro Tools, because we're not even doing that. So, thanks, man. If we just stop Pro Tools a second, save us. Pardon?
Do you laptop Pro Tools and all of that as well?
Yeah. So there we go. Thanks, Sean. You've got some signal there. So what we'll do is we'll fade him up then. In fact, if somebody fades the channel down. I think Pro Tools is still playing, actually, because it's still showing signal. There we go. Stop. So, Junior, could you fade him down? Could somebody go over to the D12s and unmute? Before you unmute, just make sure you've got no signal ISP present, input signal present. And then, yeah, oh, that's tidy, yeah. So let's just fade up. I would do the master fader first to 0. Yeah. So there might be a delay as well. Okay. Right. Let's just go back to these mixes and just see if there's anything going on. Right. It's going to be on mix 2. There's a fader up, so there's something going out to it. It's probably a H delay on waves. So if we trim that. Has it gone now? Oh no, there must be something else. Oh, okay, there's another auxiliary out. Right, anything else up? Right, that should be clean now. So yeah, Junior, fade up that a bit. See where we can get it to before it's unstable. Careful as you go. Right, great. And we've calibrated this reasonably well. We've got our fader to 0, and that's stable, and that'll do for now. Thanks very much. Right, so job number 1's done. How do we now insert a there's a button on there actually. How do we now insert a compressor via waves and multi-rack is the question. I'll take you through the first one, then you can figure out the send to reverb and back. So some bits and bobs here. Firstly, thinking about the desk. Well, you tell me what you think I'd need to do. I want to put a compressor across that vocal. And it's a particular compressor with a particular sound that I believe I have achieved. I could have done that in my headphones or the studio, and I'm like, yes, this is the one. I'm taking it with us, because lead vocalist says he sounds good like that. So what do you think I do? Great, yeah, so select the channel. Do you want to do it? So you're selecting the channel,
You've got your send and return here.
Yeah.
You press kind of sign.
Sorry.
I don't know what's in. Is it in USB port?
It's in I/O port.
Power port.
Just mute the master, Junior, while we do this as well, if you wouldn't mind, just for safety when you're doing routing. Now, let's use I/O port 1 to send it out. It's an insert. So what do we do when we bring it back?
Bring it back on the channel you've got.
Yeah, exactly. On the same channel to bring it back. So we go to return, I/O port, and 1, that's fine. And then click apply. And then it's switched on as well. Now, that's good. Going over to Waves multi-rack, and sorry, just for the thing, I'm just going to fire that up there because we're just going to look at multi-rack for a little bit. Now, we should see some signal there now, but well, let's have a look. So, Wave Sound Grid multi-rack is. Wish that thing would just go. Okay, so this is just an example that I pull up as something that you could build, save, take somewhere else. But if we got a file and new, and then blank. By the way, over the next few weeks, we're at Midas for a couple of weeks, but after that, I'll make sure this is around, and we'll build a bit of hands-on time, just play, see what you got. But just for today, it's just a quick introduction. So, click to add a rack, mono or stereo. Mono for this insert across a single, channel. Okay, now, inputs, outputs, effectively. No signal yet. Let's see what the crack is. 1, 1, and coming back on mono, 1, 1. We can do some housekeeping. And it's comp. Here's where we choose our plugs. We want a particular compressor. I mean, anybody got a preference? Sometimes I use this. So we'll do something where it's going to be apparent that there's some action going on. No signal yet. Now, we haven't got the fader faded up, so we probably want to do that at some point. We don't need anyone for level because we heard it before. I'm on the correct channel here. There I am. But still no signal, so what do you think might be wrong about this? Yeah, I mean, is it just a case that there's no one over at the microphone? And that's hotter than before, isn't it? Yeah, because it's running through that. If somebody wouldn't mind, I mean, I don't mind doing the talking, but somebody needs to get on there and basically let's trim it so that because if it's that loud, then it's a bit on the edge, isn't it? So I'll talk through it and we can see some signal, but could somebody jump on the multi-rack and just pull that down? By the way, while you do that, I'll just say that some desks allow the third-party plugins to be controlled from the console. But at this moment in time, these assignable rotary encoders cannot control parameters within outboard waves. Again, maybe that's a price point thing, and that maybe they're not going to give you that for this kind of price point. So if you don't want to faff around with your mouse on your computer, probably see multi-rack as something that you would set up in advance. Would you use multi-rack? Would you agree? You kind of got to get it set up. It's not like something you faff around with in the middle of a thing. Set it up, save it. But that's pretty much like what you would do with outboard Yamaha SPX, rolling delays and that. Anyway, you get it set and then just mostly leave it. And obviously it'd be a little bit more convenient if your laptop was actually by the desk, of course. Anyway, if you do that, make sure we can tell that it's in. Okay, so if you just bring the gain down, we should be able to tell that it works. just on the plug itself. Yeah, so it should make a difference. Should make a difference. Should make a difference. Yes, so that works. So we've ticked off that job. Let's get it to a decent level because we'll do a send return to some reverb, although there is some on it, but I think that's internal desk reverb, but we'll explore. Is that stable, would you say? Yeah, you can get away with that. Right, so in terms of whether it's internal desk reverb, what do I do? Just, yeah, go to, oh, sorry, it's not up there, but yeah, it's internal effects. There's 4 of them, and there might be something faded up on that. Yeah, so that's probably gone now. Now, just to be clear, I ain't got a problem with some of these effects. It's not a thing. It's just that, let's say, for whatever reason, that that you wanted to take something from the studio on the road. And also, there is like sometimes you just end up with a particular sound from a particular plugin, and you've no reason why. It's just whatever you landed on, and there we go. That sounds good. So, how do we get this send return thing done in our 7 minutes? So we want to send out to a reverb or a delay. Let's do a delay. I want H delay. So let's do the desk side of it first. What do you reckon? Yeah. Great, exactly. So it's an aux send. So how I would do it is just drag it over. Thanks, fam. Yeah. Just and you click on the top bar of that and drag it over. It's a bit, yeah. Thanks very much for doing that. So you go pick an auxiliary, as Aaron said, or in this case it's called a mix. So I'll just go mix 1. Then I need to find mix 1 master. Now all these channels are freely assignable, so I could put auxiliary 1 master on this bank if I wanted to. But we won't do that just now. I just happen to know that auxiliary masters are on layer 3 at the moment because we did this yesterday. Exposure's a bit naff, innit? Why can't it sort itself out? Anyway, it's one of these. I think it's this one here. You know on the D show where you've got a source button? There's a view button here that acts like that. When you press and hold it, it tells you what's on the channel. So that's helpful. So that's exactly like source on the D show. So that's auxiliary 1 master there. Now, it's faded up. Tell me what I think I need to do next. Yeah. That's internal effects, by the way. And there are some ones in there that I actually think sound all right. So I'm not by any means saying that you have to go and do all the outboard stuff. But go ahead, sorry. What next? Processing, yeah. Yeah, so insert. Yeah. Now, you can do it that way, but I'm going to suggest another way, because really what this is setting up an insert. Send and return. The other way of doing this is, and that will work, by the way, but try to think about inserts as different things than send via auxiliary and return. Inserts for gates, comps, and EQ. Auxiliary send and return to another channel, time-based effects, delay, reverb, and all of the special stuff. So I'm going to do it actually this time in I/O, and I'm going to go to the I/O port, which says it's waves, which is helpful. Then I'm going to take my mix out and connect it to I/O port 2, channel 2 on the port, because we've just used channel 1. So all I've got to do is find my auxiliary, which is currently called SN verb, frustratingly. So those are all groups. It's that one there, but I'm going to rename it quickly so we're on the page. So it's going to be called V verb. Yeah, it's going to be called that. So I/O port verb is there. It's going to be connected to It's going to be connected to 2. So what that does is that connects whatever's on auxiliary master verb to channel 2 of the waves stream on the network. At which point, that's got signal there, or it should have done. The other thing we need to do is bring it back to a channel. So there are dedicated effects returns on this desk, but for the same reason as we said on the D show, let's just bring it back to a stereo channel. Then it's got the full host processing on a channel, gain, gate, EQ, compression. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a stereo channel, and to do that, I'll have to go. You're not necessarily going to remember all these steps, by the way, folks. That's not what this is about. I was saying to Junior before, by the way, that you're assessed on this on the D show for this assessment. That's it. It's called digital systems, so therefore we better think about a range of digital systems, because the reality is you're going to be using different consoles for different jobs. My advice is don't try to become the absolute ninja on one console, because it won't be trendy to use that console in a few years. It's different to heritage analog consoles in that sense. Trends move on, things fall out of favour in the industry, and price points change, so venues will go with whatever bloody makes sense. So it's better just to try and, for me, I think it's encourageable just to try and like have the overall concept and try and apply it to a different desk. I think that's the key to getting on, doing range of work, making money. So, yeah, you would have to watch this feedback or think about it to be able to remember how to do this, but basically you need to make a stereo channel. Now, by the looks of this, there are some stereo channels. So, yeah, like 1 and 2, why does that not like that? Layer A, if I press view, yeah, that's a stereo channel there. An input channel, IP 1 and 2. So I'm going to rename it to be return, and I'm going to make it yellow because that's the colour that we were using before. So it's going to be sent from lead Vox, and it's going to return to here. One last thing that I've got to do, I've sent it out, but I've not done what? That. Said, get it back from Waves. So I want to get it back from I/O port number what? I've just realised my little mistake here. You have to go odd to even. So I can't send it out on 2. Well, I can send it out on 2, but I have to get it back on 3 and 4. Look. Oops, how do we do that? Where's that? Do you see what I mean? Do you know what? I'm going to leave it on 2 and I'm going to get it back on 3 and 4, but hopefully you appreciate that. I wouldn't try and do that normally because, or you try not to do that because, well, if you don't get confused, then you're better than me because I get confused with that. I try and use the same number out and back in again. Anyway, but it still should work. So it's coming back on 3 and 4, but it's going in via 2. Let's see if we can make that work. So that's done there. Should work. Just finally, we go back to multi-rack. Actually, Aaron could, or anybody else who's near, could you operate multi-rack? Yes, please. Anybody who wants to, just jump on my machine. We've got, well, we're pretty much at the top of the hour, so we better do it rapido. So you click on the arrow button to, can you minimize that? That's it. Make a new rack. This time a what? Delay? Stereo, yeah? It's not 1 in, 2 out because it just figures the input out itself.
So how'd you do it? Just stereo, stereo, or just...
Oh, you could do mono to stereo, yeah? That's a good call. Yeah, go for it. I normally just do stereo and it just figures the input out. But mono to stereo is a good call. We want it from 2 and we want it going back to 3 and 4.
Why? All of them. Is that right, yeah?
It's going in on 2, it's coming back on 3 and 4.
Oh, what have I done?
You've just gone into, it's fine, you've just gone into detail. Call that delay. So it's going on 2, it's coming back on 3 and 4. Let's have a H delay from plugin choice. Mono to stereo, yeah. So it is 1 in, 2 out. Yeah, well done for doing it like that. That's neat. In terms of whether we get any signal, well, I'm just going to mute the LR at first. Lead vocal fader is up. and we should be able to see, if somebody comes over to the console, we should be able to get some signal coming back into the return. Would somebody mind just giving us some level? Sorry, Sean, I know you're the nearest. Just, we've got level on the... In fact, could you mind just bringing the thing back up onto the screen, the iPad thing, just so we can keep folks across. Nearly there, folks. I appreciate time-wise we're just creeping over here. But so you're there. Have we got signal in multi-rack? Sorry, Aaron. Yeah, shift that out of the way. That's great. Okay, so no signal present yet. Let's just check the routing of this. I might change it to 3. Oh, thank you. Well done, well done. Right. As Aaron puts it, we need to send some to the AUX. Junior, can you do it? So you click on Mix 1, which is effectively AUX 1. Just here. Well done, Aaron, for realising that. Fade up the fader. This is sends on faders. Fade up the one on the lead vocal channel that's selected.
That's a 0?
Yeah. And we'll have some level. So we've got some level now going into H delay, a little bit. So it should be coming back here on return, which it is. And then all I'm going to do to wrap us up is go route in. Make sure this is going to the left and right, which it is. Now we can hopefully just fade it up. Junior, could you fade up channel 1? Fade it up to 0, so we'll hear it. Then change back to the L and R, which is there. Then fade the master fader down. Unmute. Fade it back up again. We'll hear him and delay, hopefully. We've got to 0 a little bit more. There we go, stop. I suspect it's level.
Keep going, man, keep going.
Testing. 1, 2, 1, 2.
I think we'll need to send some more.
My life. Test. I don't hear my delay.
Sing that song again.
I'm back. I'm a goldfish. And a goldfish has a memory of an eye. I'm back. I'm a goldfish. And a goldfish has a memory of an eye. I'm back. I'm a goldfish. And a goldfish has a memory of an eye. I'm back. I like it. Bet you regret ever teaching me that, don't you, Kai?
Oh, that's where it's come from. I thought I heard it before.
Of course.
There's only one person who can make a song that annoying.
Does anyone have any suggestions?
There's no delay.
No.
It's there. It's just it's not routed to. It's not getting to left and right. Does anyone have any suggestions? So it's getting there. It's just got to get out to left and right. Oh, have we?
Right, is it?
Yeah, we've had the.
Test.
It's not turned off on left and right.
Oh, thanks.
Test.